have not called you Shannon.
No,
Julia called you Shannon. When did we first, when were you? Well, I was first aware of you in high school. Probably my freshman year in high school, but definitely my sophomore year in high school.
I,
Did you go to Edgemere?
I did go to Edgemere.
So I should have been aware of you then. These are grade schools in El Paso, Texas, which I'm sure will be riveting to everyone who listens to this. But yes, so now what's your first memory of me?
School,
High school?
high school, and maybe eighth grade, maybe a little eighth grade, but high school. I mean,
Yeah.
Carmen was the smart one of the smart ones, but also warm and friendly. We didn't really hang in the same crowd, but I mean, there was no hard feelings. We just kind of were in different crowds.
Wait, stop. Hold on.
Mhm.
Carmen was in what crowd and you were in what crowd? This is
Mhm.
important.
In high school.
In high school.
I was in the crowd that had Cheetos and chocolate milk for lunch about 2 or 3 days a week. I don't know why, but some some point in high school, I became enamored of Cheetos and chocolate milk
Was
as
that
as,
the theater
I should
crowd?
have been in that crowd.
as a
Yeah.
lunch.
Was that the theater crowd or the stoner crowd or the brain crowd or the
It was
cool
kind of like the brain crowd.
brain crowd? Okay. And
So
then
our valedictorian, so it was the women brain crowd. It was me, it was
Evelyn,
Evelyn Tiffany Castiglione, whom we lost just before COVID. Very sad. And I remember Kathy Sanetra being part of that group
don't
every
remember that
once in a
name.
while. And I'm not actually sure who else was in that group. Sharon, can you remember?
Not in your group.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't, you know what? I'm sure there was a stoner group. I didn't do drugs or really alcohol until I had
Yeah.
kids. So, yeah, so I started liking
Good
wine.
planning.
So,
yeah, good.
so I wasn't in that. I mean, do I think I had some cool friends? Yes. But you know, I don't feel like there was a lot of horrible exclusivity. I hope not. I I don't
No,
remember
I
that.
don't think so. And in my senior year in high school, I don't know what got me into doing this, but I decided to move a little closer to Sharon's crowd. And I joined, I don't know why we're talking about this. I joined this.
ROTC
Huh?
was it? I thought you were going to talk about girls ROTC, but no.
Yes, I joined
Sponsors,
I
sponsors.
joined the sponsors, which was like a military drill marching women's
Yep.
team. And it was something that I mean, I consciously made this decision. Oh, the cool girls in high school seem to like the sponsors. I'm never going to make it as a cheerleader and or a beauty queen of any kind. So let's see if I can,
March.
cross the gap a little bit and become a
Get into
sponsor. So that was
sponsors.
actually a conscious decision on my part.
Mm.
So
And who would
Sharon,
think that that would be popular? Go ahead.
So, Sharon, what did you do to join the brain group?
I didn't ever think I was in the well, I was a good student and
Yes.
even a better student in college. So, but I didn't think I was part of a brain group in high school. I think you kind of kept that a little pushed down. Maybe me. I
Mhm.
mean, I didn't want to be, my mother even made a comment when I was in college. You're going to educate yourself right out of the husband.
Oh, really?
Real
And
comment.
and you
Real
love,
comment.
I mean, I know you adored your mother and your
Oh, I
dad,
did. I did
and
adore them,
and
but
and everybody says that they were very smart people.
and
So I'm
and my mom was.
surprised. I'm
But I
surprised
got
you
a
made that
master's, and then
comment.
I was working on a PhD in speech therapy, and that's when my mom got worried.
Yeah, it's so funny because it's also a backhanded, I guess, uh, criticism of men, right?
Absolutely, and I didn't think of it that way. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you took it as a criticism of you, but yeah, she didn't have a lot of faith that there were men out there who could handle that.
yeah.
So Sharon lives in Dallas, Texas. in Dallas, Texas proper, not in one of the bizarre
Suburbs.
little suburbs of it. And I've gotten to know her a lot better in the last 10 years.
Yeah, we become close friends with a group.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
absolutely.
And we all went to this high school in El Paso, Texas, which isn't really Texas at all. At least,
More New Mexico or Arizona, but not Texas.
but not Texas in any meaningful way. And but now she's in like the heart of Texas, and um, you started your career. Well, I don't know that you started your professional life uh, as a in real estate, but
This is
but
career 3. Happy to tell you about it.
okay. So please proceed.
So I have a master's in speech therapy. I got my first job out of college as a speech therapist in a school district. I got my first paycheck, called my dad, said, who is FICA and why do they want 200 of my dollars? I just didn't understand the world of finance. And I knew right then I couldn't afford to live in a 1-bedroom apartment and drive a car. So I got a second job with the Department of Child Welfare, and I went into impoverished homes 2 nights a week on top of my speech therapy to make extra money. So I'd go into these homes and do speech therapy. You'd walk into the homes and you smelled the oil from the food they were cooking. And these kids with missing teeth and parents with not many either were so grateful to see me. But I had to do that to supplement my income. So I realized I was going to be supplementing my income with this kind of education. So after doing that for 3 years, I think it was, I went back to get a master's.
And are you in Dallas at the time?
I was in Dallas,
Yeah.
and I went back to get an MBA, which of course threatened my mom a little again. I did not complete that. And I met a guy in one of my classes who worked for a company called NCH Corporation, Industrial Chemicals. And he would get paid $500 many years ago if he could recruit somebody. So he brought me in and they started talking to me, and I started selling industrial chemicals. Had not a clue what that meant. Just jumping off a hill, out carrying a big bag of industrial chemicals,
Like
walking in. What?
Like
Yeah, but not homes.
Yeah.
Like commercial properties.
I mean, did you have a favorite industrial chemical?
Oh, I mean, there's so many stories. I mean, I sold lubricants, patching compounds, cleaning products, water treatment products. I was demonstrating a product one time and I burned a hole through the guy's desk. And I said, I guess no sell today. So I had, and I remember a guy saying to me, the best thing that could happen to you is for a man to take you off the streets. That's how he referred to my career. However, I tripled my income from being a speech therapist, my other 2 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking, okay, sales is where it's at. So I did that for 6 years, and that's where I learned to sell.
Yeah. Did you know you were a natural salesperson?
No. I mean, I knew that I could go sell baton cookies that we had to sell in the neighborhood or whatever. I'd sell mine and sell my sister's, but I didn't think of it as a respected profession. In fact, when I went into sales, my parents were kind of horrified. They were both educators. And I remember like, why would you do this? And then when I started making money, my mom said, do you think your dad could come to work for you? It was just like kind of a pivot. And it was amazing because I learned how to sell. I worked in the sales school. I traveled the country training other salespeople. My educational background helped with that, and was really, for the time, making a lot of money, a lot more than my friends that were school teachers. I remember thinking it was sad that I had all this education in a field that I thought I was going to love, and I really couldn't make a living single doing that. And I had to watch my parents with the struggle, and so I knew it was real. So I sold industrial chemicals, and I mean, it was my gateway drug to sales.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, and then you transitioned into real estate.
And so what happened, and you can cut out any of this that you want, but I was selling, and then one of the gentleman that ran the domestic part of the company, it was international, had a crush on me, whatever. I ended up with him. That's who my children were born from. So he was Jewish and 22 years older than me. And I came from a Southern Baptist family. So I thought my parents would be horrified, but they'd gotten used to some antics probably by that time. And he was so charming and really knew how to win people over. So we ended up getting married, and the company called me in. And it was a nepotism situation they wouldn't even do now. But they said, now that you work, now that you're marrying him, we would expect you to be a corporate wife. Or if you don't want to, one of you needs to leave. We can't have you married in this position. And I was shocked. I did not see that coming. And he was not at all shocked. And so I remember I said to them, you guys taught me how to make money. I made money. I now have debt. I bought a condo. And I said, I don't want to enter this marriage that way. Would you give me a year to kind of phase out and take care of that? And they did. And so at the end of that year, some of the managers liked the fact that I would travel and train their salespeople. So the way they'd pay me under the table, seriously, they'd go, we can't give you cash, but do you need a new purse? do you need a ski outfit? That went on for another 6 months. And if you guys hear that out there, I'm sorry, but it was almost funny. So I continued to work that way. And then I got pregnant and started my family.
Oh my God.
It's just amazing.
So that was my story. And when I did stay home, but by staying home, I also did all this volunteer work in the community. So I was raising money for different diseases. Said at one point I was in the newspaper for, I think, 3 different diseases on 2 different pages or something, but it will keep you busy. You might as well go back to work.
Yeah.
And so then I did transition into commercial real estate, which I'm grateful for, because I went through a divorce and my kids were in private school, and I knew I needed to be in a profession that made enough money for me to pay my share of the expenses for them to continue in their schools. And they were in great schools, and I wanted them to be able to stay there.
Do you feel like your kids learned from you about, the value of doing work to make money and all of this? I mean, do you think, what is your sense of that?
It's interesting. My daughter, who is, and I really mean it, brilliant, but business doesn't interest her. So she chose a different path. I mean, she's a mother of 4. She's got an 18-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And so her path is hybrid homeschooling with those kids. So she's very busy. So I think she valued how I managed it. But I think my son has probably emulated my business and his father's business.
Yes.
Savvy more. It's more of an interest to him. And I love the fact that he calls me frequently to discuss what's going on in his business life and values my opinion. So that means the world to me.
Wow. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, I mean, you're such a great salesperson, and I know you've trained teams,
Yes.
Mentored people into the business. Just curious, what are kind of the key, I don't know what number, 1, 2, 3, whatever your number, what are the key things you tell people about,
what makes
maybe you don't even call it selling. But how do you, what are the heuristic shortcuts that can stick in someone's head?
I don't even know if it's a shortcut, but a lot of tenacity.
Yeah.
I mean, in sales, and I tell them this, there are so many no's. And I always say every no is one no closer to a yes. I mean, when I sold chemicals, I could actually quantify if I made this many stops and I got in front of this many people, I could sell this many. I knew my ratio. I got to where I could sell 1 out of 2. So when I got over to commercial real estate, it's a much more sophisticated sell, but it is a sell and it takes longer. So what I would teach is you keep going back, you keep talking to people, you keep reconnecting with them until they tell you, no, get out of here. You keep checking back, because the person they choose to do business with is the person that's standing in front of them at that time. And it's almost the case. So I would teach them how to be persistent, stay organized. And I really fight organization myself. So I would push it on them because I knew how important that was. But really consistency, staying organized, and hard work. It takes hard work. I mean, most of my career in commercial real estate have been 10-hour days, easily, year after year after year after year. It wasn't like it just came to me. I mean, it was
Yeah.
hard work,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I loved it. It never, and I am blessed with a lot of energy,
Yes.
and I know that it helps me.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
You probably sleep well too.
That varies, but I've kind of found the right combination with hormones.
Really matters.
Now, one of the things I was hoping we could do with our conversation is, I mean, I would say that Julia and I have a coastal bias. We talk to a lot of people from the East Coast, and we talk to a lot of people from the West Coast.
But I'm from the Midwest, so every time we talk to
Yes.
friends from the Midwest.
And I know you're independent. I listened to your Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I am not
Very good.
a jerk anything. I
Do you have
used
a
to.
question for Julia about the Joe Rogan?
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because after I, like chided you for calling me Shannon, I went, wait, who was I talking to? I thought this was just some friend of of Carmen's. My
I'm
respect for
just
you.
a friend of Carmen.
But my respect for you just soared. I will say that.
Thank
I
you.
thought, what an interesting lady. And I told Carmen, you remind me of Carmen that that you're brilliant and kind.
Oh, wow. That gives me all sorts of physical reactions.
It
But
gives
that's
you
how I think of
feelings.
That gives
Yeah,
me
but that's how I
feelings.
think of Carmen because there are very brainy people who are shut off, but not Carmen.
No,
Mm.
I know. That's why
And
Carmen and
and
I,
I got the same sense about you.
thank you.
Yeah.
No, that we are very simpatico in that way. And it's hard to find, yeah, it's the heart and the mind together. Thank you. That
Well,
is,
kindness is for sure, one of the most important, if not the most important thing, attribute or trait that connects me to people. And I don't know if I've told you this story, Sharon, but I went to Texas Tech after high school for a year, and I was part of
Oh, I
the
did
debate.
not know that.
Yeah, I was part of the debate team there, and I'm a very good debater.
No
That's
surprise.
no brag, just fact.
What?
No brag, just fact. I'm still recovering from this horrible, never-ending chest thing that I got weeks ago. But anyway, so I'm gonna cough.
but you're coughing way less, so that's good.
Oh yeah, that's great. So and when by the time I don't really know what happened, but by the time I got to Texas Tech and we started winning, debates, my partner and I, John, I think I just thought I was the best thing since sliced bread. I don't know what happened to me. And at the start of my second year at Texas Tech, I dropped out of school. And it was just stupid. After the first month, I dropped out of school, and it was, the stupid boy thing, romance thing. And I'm not going to get into the details, but I was in this dorm, and when something like dramatic like this happens, at the time we were girls, really, all the other girls in the dorm know that something is up, right? And when I finally pack up my car to leave, they all kind of stood in a line to wish me goodbye, like five or six of them. And I remember one of them said to me, and this is true, because so I had this attitude that I was smarter than they were. And so I didn't really engage with them. And I'm not proud of this. And this one woman said, I'm sorry you're leaving, because over the last few days, when you've talked to us more, I realize you're not an asshole. And I was so struck by that. I thought about that the whole drive home. And from then on in my, college career, my whole attitude was to just not speak up in class, to not act obnoxious, to
Just,
be
yeah.
just very kind.
Yeah.
And so that was a big deal. So somewhere between high school, I guess, and when I started Texas Tech, I lost that. But I'm very lucky that that woman said that to me because she nailed it, and that sort of took care of it
Like
for the
how,
rest of my life.
I mean, you swung the pendulum to the other direction, but then you came back so you were both kind and able to speak up in classes.
Well, yeah, and it took me a long time to swing that back. And yeah, so but anyway, it's not about me, it's about Sharon. So
Well,
that
it's about
Well,
all.
back to Joe Rogan real quick. But Julia, I was listening to that and I'm like, all the things you kept doing. I mean, from continuing to study to being a doula. I mean, it was like it never ended with all the paths that you followed.
yes,
I mean,
yes.
I mean, I love that.
Well,
Curious.
she also is playing the banjo. I don't know if that's mentioned
No,
I
in the
didn't.
I,
Joe Rogan.
I was going to bring my banjo, but I didn't do it. But the my favorite comment. No, my two favorite comments on YouTube that anyone made about. I was scared to read the comments because, good Lord, you know,
Yeah.
it's the internet. But my two favorite comments were one, this woman has not had enough life experience.
it, yeah,
Which was
kind
great.
of.
And the other one was, she reminds me of all of the Ghostbusters put together in one person. And I was like,
Oh,
Oh, that's great.
that's fantastic.
yeah, that made
Yeah,
me,
but
let's see.
that's really
Right.
good. I mean, I'd like to be more familiar with the Ghostbuster movies. I think I saw it maybe once, but
I'm like you, Carmen. I haven't.
yeah.
I can't call them to mind.
Yes, exactly. But I'm sure I think we've lost you. Say something, Julia.
Oh, me? You've
Oh,
lost me?
okay. Maybe the microphone just wasn't picking you up. But anyway, so back to where I was saying, we have, we talk a lot to East Coast types and talk a lot to West Coast types. And I was hoping one of the things we could do in this conversation is, well, obviously talk about Texas and what Texas means.
Yeah.
And, when I'm here in Texas, I spend a certain amount of time explaining the East Coast to Texans. And when
Okay.
I'm on the East Coast, I spend a lot of time explaining Texas to the East Coast. And people have a very, well, do you have something to say now, Sharon? Yes.
Well, it's interesting because, like you said, El Paso is one part of Texas. Dallas is very different. And so my experiences are, and then I was in Austin for a while. I'll back up to Austin real quickly and then get to present day. But when I went to UT, the thing that struck me was how white that campus was.
Mm.
There was diversity in El Paso, and I saw none of that. I don't remember a Hispanic, a Black, and I was sitting with some girls I just met at lunch one day, and a Black student came up and asked if he could join us. I said, "Sure, sit down." And they looked at me if looks could have killed,
Oh,
and
wow.
I was unprepared for that because I grew up in El Paso with a family that was very welcoming. That just, I'm not going to say we didn't see color, but I certainly wouldn't have said to somebody, "You can't sit with us." Just going through that transition. So now being in Dallas, Dallas isn't known for great sights or beautiful mountains or any of that, but it's been a great place to work and a great place to raise kids. And it is very diversified, a huge Indian population, Hispanic, Black. And, my kids, even though they were in private school, those private schools were integrated as well. So I loved it. It's very business friendly. They think of all of Texas as conservative, but Dallas proper is very, very liberal. I mean, most of our local leaders are Democratic. So it's very mixed. I try to be pretty quiet about my politics. I'm certainly not going to get on Facebook and do anything because I'm not going to convince anybody. And I think most of them, it's so crazy out there right now. Who do I defend?
Yeah.
So I think I'm pretty moderate in where I stand. And I try to stay that way. And I try to not get into conversations with people that are going to end badly because of that. It's just awful what I've seen, what it's done to families and friends.
Oh,
So
yeah, it is horrible. And one of the things that I defend Texas when I talk to my East Coast friends or I have lots of very, very, very progressive friends. I mean,
Almost beyond progressive.
almost all of them are. Well, I have a lot of friends who are not particularly political, because really my very close friends, it would be very odd for me to have very political close friends, because I try to conduct myself in a not particularly political way. But I once had a good friend say to me about something Texas had done. She actually said, well, the problem with Texans is that they don't have any principles. And
It's
yeah, I took umbrage. I went, no, they do have principles. They have different principles from you, perhaps, but they are very principled people. And one of the ways that I think the East Coast misunderstands Texas is that I think Texans are very welcoming.
Yeah, warm and welcome.
They're very community oriented. I tell people all the time, and I know they don't believe me, that I see more, like when you go to a restaurant, I see more diverse dining tables in Texas than I ever see in the Virginia area. Just way more, obviously the family has the Mexican part of it, and then it's got maybe even the African American part of it or the Asian. And then there's the few good old boys hanging out there, and they're all clearly together. Uh, but the thing that Texas resents, I think Texans resent more than anything, is for any of these things to be imposed upon them by a so-called higher power. That's my analysis of Texas. And Texans definitely do not think government is a solution for
Oh,
much of anything.
right.
So your reaction.
And I'm going to back up and then I'll answer that. I actually go to an evangelical church that
Uh-huh.
I would love to take a picture of because you talk about
Yes.
diversity. I sit next to Indians, Hispanics, Blacks, Chinese, and nobody would believe it. And it's a church that was disgraced because the pastor was involved with a 21-year-old or 16-year-old girl when he was 20. So it's
Well,
a
okay,
very,
now that's pretty much standard
yeah,
for
well,
a lot of
it,
these
it was a bad
churches.
one.
I mean, I don't want to take a
No,
cheap shot, but I
no,
just
there's a
did.
lot of that. But anyway, that's diverse. So your question about, say that again about your question when I interrupted you about
About they
Texas.
don't what they don't want is these things to be imposed upon
Oh,
them
in terms of
by
government and
others,
all.
and that they don't think government is the solution for much of anything.
Well, and I think that goes to the business environment. This is a good place to do business for that reason. I mean, it's they let you, they're kind of hands off, and I have mixed feelings. I'm a big believer and I give back and I help and I volunteer,
I know
I
you do.
work. And so I'm not a pro give it all away. And so that will get to me because I'm sitting there thinking, I've worked so hard and I share what I have, but I don't want to be told to share what I have.
Hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
I make that decision on my own.
But all right, I'm going to pipe in here and say
Sure.
I think that the same thing is true for the East Coast. They don't want to be told what to do by a so-called higher power. The difference is they believe they are the higher power, so it would never occur to them that that
Oh,
could happen. And so
interesting.
I think that's their rebellion right now around the Trump administration is, well, there's not supposed to be any higher power for us. There's only supposed to be higher power for the people who've got it wrong.
Well, I
And
Interesting.
know
it's
both of
that
you have seen the documentary, "The Power We Hold," about women in the intelligence community.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's
one of
riveting.
the things that I say in that documentary is that large organizations are elite focused, and that's really a problem. And there's lots of different ways to define elites, and I don't really define it there, but I do think, and I don't know where even you would draw the line, but there's some kind of difference between how I don't even, it's very hard to find the words because sometimes they're kind of demeaning or they have value to them. But I think the average human being does not want their life consumed by politics. The average
No.
human being wants to live their life, raise their children, have their relationships, enjoy whatever quirky things they enjoy. That's what's important to them. And I was talking recently to somebody who was involved with a Texas Tribune, that sort of independent newspaper that was trying to, and it's very kind of liberal, progressive Texas newspaper. And she said that when she was working with this newspaper, the people on that newspaper thought that they were talking to the common folk. But she realized that the average person doesn't want to read a lot of political coverage. They don't care. These political newspapers are just talking to each other. It's the same group of people talking to each other. And people are
Reading.
always asking me, well, what do you read? What media do you read? And I can honestly say I read no media. I do not subscribe to the Times. I do not subscribe to the Post. I don't subscribe to anything. You know what I like to read? Comments on YouTube videos where I get a little bit of a feel for what, incomplete, but a little bit of a feel for what average people,
Think.
what really matters to them.
It's interesting, Carmen, because Carmen knows my husband, and I will say, Steve, doesn't matter which way he leans politically, but he reads both sides a lot.
Yeah.
He really works to understand both sides. And we just had a big election, as y'all know, yesterday in Texas.
Yeah.
And I have some close friends, and we're of the same party, and we disagreed within that pretty strongly. And we agreed to disagree. But I said, look, we have vastly different opinions of who should have won, and we're more aligned than some. And there's so much divisiveness. And I think politics corrupts, period.
Yeah, I agree completely.
It just does. And how do you find a clean politician?
Is it politics that corrupts, or is it money that corrupts? I mean, is it greed? Not even money.
And access to money and power and greed. Yes.
Well, I definitely think power corrupts.
Yeah. It's got to be intoxicating.
Yeah, it is intoxicating, and it does make you drunk and then make bad decisions. So is there any way to, sorry, I'm always trying to solve things. Is there any way to solve that? I mean, is there any way to make a law around that? Look,
okay, you've already taken a misstep by saying make a law.
Okay, or maybe you don't make a law, maybe you just make a cultural expectation somehow that if someone spends more than X amount of dollars on the X level campaign, like Senate level campaign or governor level campaign, then somehow they are like shunned. Even if they're.
I would say I was at a political thing recently with somebody, and the somebody I was with was being very generous and was told she couldn't make that large of a contribution. So that kind of it was squashed by the candidates
because they said
representative.
Yeah, there are different rules about how you make your contributions, and I don't really understand how they all work.
All that works.
My view is I think we have to evolve into different ways of getting along with each other. I mean, I think my view is we as communities have to deal with problems at scale. Some problems cannot be solved individually by all the individual communities. You have to come up with an overarching solution. And the only way that we figured out how to do this was by creating governments. And it's clear to me that the concept of government as we created it doesn't work anymore. Part of why it doesn't work is we injected ideology into government. And I don't know if it's, I mean, I'm just telling you what I think, and I could be completely wrong, but I don't, if we could just do things based on common sense and what the facts tell us, that would be great. But we don't. We attach all these ideologies to it. And I keep thinking that just gets us into trouble. And some of our founding fathers, I think I'm right that Jefferson was one of these, but I have to look it up. But many of our we have a dog.
No, that's
No, we
actually,
have popcorn.
Oh,
Popcorn.
popcorn. Oh, hi, popcorn.
She heard you talking and she's walking off. Say
it's
hello.
because,
Oh,
hi.
popcorn.
It's because we were talking about the nature of power, and cats are very attracted to
Oh,
that.
they
Carmen,
are.
have
But
you either one of you watched the Netflix documentary called The Presidents?
no.
No.
It's what I love about it. It's about 15 minutes on each president.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
okay.
It's so good because you watch that and you went, it's all been happening forever.
Yes, it
Yeah.
has.
There's
Yes,
like
it has.
nothing that it stops it. Is it Bush or I can't remember. It doesn't go all the way to Trump or even Obama. So it stops. And maybe that's to come. I was fascinated. And I love the
Yeah.
fact that it was short. I mean,
Yeah.
it tells you something you've never, or I had never heard about the president.
Oh,
That particular, it's good, worth
Yeah.
watching.
I gotta check that out. There's this weird podcast called The Emerald. It's weird. It's like a 2 hour long, non-web video, just auditory podcast with music and production. The guy is kind of weird, but he makes these unbelievably nuanced points. And this particular episode is called the Power, Small Powers and Large, or something like that. And we could put a link into it, but it's about how human beings keep fantasizing about, power corrupts and da 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 da. But there's innate power in nature, and there's innate power in our bodies, and different people express it differently. There's this thing called charisma, and people who are charismatic feel like they have more power, and that has an effect, and that's not going to go away. So he's talking about how do we just acknowledge that those things are true, and then let the power move through us in ways that make structures that don't hurt people, right? Like that's the big challenge, and that's not easy. But I feel like part of the reason why I get so pissed off at both sides, both political parties, is that the left says that kind of power doesn't exist. You know, like that native natural power is a fantasy that's like magic. It doesn't exist. And then the right says that exists, and that's all that we're really going to care about, right? And it feels like no, 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 like that exists and it's real, and we have to care about how to channel that in a responsible way. You
Hmm.
know. Anyway, that's what I think.
That's
And
interesting.
yeah, anyway, I think it was Jefferson who hated the ideas of political parties because, in fact, ideology kind of, I don't know, injects this whole other dimension that leads us to decide things not on the facts or common sense, but on some value system that we have.
Well,
Like no one should be allowed to be too rich.
right.
That's just a point of view.
Yeah.
Uh, but it is, it's a very strong point of view among a lot of people.
Right. And another
Very
thing,
anti-capitalistic.
Yes. Yeah. Well, what I'm
Yeah.
reading right now is a book on the Capitalist Manifesto that was recommended to me called The Spectre Haunting, something like that.
hmm,
And anyway, I'm just reading it because I always like to learn
I do too.
what's going on.
I want to.
Yeah. So what else, when we said we wanted to panda you, what else did you want to talk about?
Well, what I'm doing now, maybe.
yeah,
Okay, please. What are you doing now?
Well, I mean, I was with a company, Julia, that at least Carmen knows, called Fisher Company, founded by a husband and wife, a commercial real estate company. I started my career there, left, and then was recruited back in 2016. And it's a company that's made lots and lots of money, and it's made people there a lot of people have benefited greatly from being at that company. Unfortunately, when I went back this time, and this is very public, the founders went through a divorce. So the divorce and then their co-founders and co-owners, that the lawsuits over the ownership continue this many years later. So in the end, I was definitely caught in the middle
yeah.
of the battle, and it created a lot of chaos and rendered me unable to really build a team. I built a
Mm.
team, then it got destroyed by inabilities to make decisions based on company arguments. I ended up being called into court, not about doing anything wrong, but to testify against one of the parties. So it was, I would have to walk into an office the day after being questioned, and I just kept doing it until I couldn't, until my last group was just squashed. And so at the end of 2024, I left and I was just like so ready to leave. And, the world's my oyster. And I've been doing a lot of free mentoring and counseling, especially with young people and coaching. But it had turned into women in their mid or later careers coming to me and had been doing a lot of that. So my best friend who comes from corporate America, Carmen's met her as well, born in Cuba, very, very successful. We decided to come together and do some coaching and consulting. And I thought I have my broker's license, so I could continue to do some commercial real estate. So talk about naive, just jumping from a big machine to doing it by ourselves with no back office, no infrastructure. The first year was really painful, really figuring things out. Who's our audience? How do we price it? How do we add value? There was a lot. We aligned ourselves with somebody and that didn't work, and it was maybe nobody's fault, but just a lot of disarray. So I told myself, have grace. That was my first year away. I'm a person who loves going into an office and being energized by the other people there. And now I'm at home with a cat and 3 dogs. And that's a very different scenario. So year one, I say, was a lot of learning. But year two, has been great. And what's been nice, I've kind of refigured. I'm doing consulting more than coaching within companies. Everything from working with a company that's not in commercial real estate, I'm helping them learn how to increase their sales, generate income, raise their status. Something I knew how to do before, and now I'm doing it. And I feel all this confidence that I love that I can help them. Then I'm working with another company, everything from recruiting to helping with their team and growing them. And then, thank you, Jesus, a lot of my clients have come back to me for help. Sharon, can you help with it? So I'm balancing coaching, consulting, and brokerage.
So like the clients that maybe you had in commercial real estate are coming back to you.
Yeah. Can you help me find a new space? Can you help me find this? Can you sell this for me? When I think it's over, it keeps coming. And like I said, I'm incredibly grateful for it. And I've brought in mainly a guy that used to work for me to help me with it, because it's not a solo job.
Right.
And so I work with a couple of different young people that I bring in. And I've loved it. I mean, last night I was sitting here about 8 o'clock and the phone rang, and somebody that's a friend called to see if I could meet with them about releasing a building of their. So things just keep coming.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for it, because I'm not ready to not work. I can't imagine doing that. I feel like I have so much runway. In fact, I thought, if I'm enjoying it, why do you ever quit what you're doing? I think I may have told this to Carmen, but I've watched 2 specials that stuck with me. And one of them was about Paul Anka, of all people. And he is still performing in his late 80s.
Yes.
And I didn't realize he's written like 900 songs and just so prolific.
Yes.
And they said to him, why are you still performing? You don't need the money. And he goes, but why wouldn't I? I love it. I love being on stage. And then you go to Ed Sullivan. His special's amazing, but he was pushed out at age 70 and died 3 years later.
Yep.
I'm not choking up about his death, but I needed water.
Yep.
So I'd rather be Paul Anka than Ed Sullivan.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
My dad, who's 90, went to go get a checkup with his doctor. And he said to the doctor, look, I want to live to be at least 96. It's like a goal I have for some reason. And the doctor said, great. What are you giving yourself to live for that you have to complete? And so
Great question.
There's like 3 studies. He's a scientist. He's like, there's 3 papers I want to write. It's going to take me a while to write them. So that'll be my goal. And so I think that's good advice. It's
a great advice.
Have something you're living for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've always been a more laid back person, so I am happy to do less, I guess, but I don't want to do nothing.
I don't see you as doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I get great joy in like just seeing new places and having different experiences. So that's my story.
Well, that's educational to go to new places. I love that too. I love travel.
Yeah, me too.
I think of it as your job. I mean, like my husband had a double lung transplant. He can't really do work,
He had
but
what do you have, Julia?
double lung transplant
Wow.
13 and a half years ago. Yeah, no,
That's a big deal.
Every once
yeah,
in a while, I catch a little glimpse of him
yeah.
because he has to worry about catching other people's diseases.
Bless his heart. That's tough.
Yeah, but well, it helps that he's a total introvert, but he loves to do art and he loves to perform. So he'll make videos on YouTube or he'll do art and he says, "Look, this is my job. This is how I'm going to get back to the world is through this like indirect way."
Right, right.
Can you send me a link to a video of his? I would love to
Oh,
see it.
oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
he has a thing called the Brooks Show. His name is Brooks.
yeah.
That would be fun. But good for him. I mean, that's obviously a tough thing to go through.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't know, he continues to anyone who is doesn't matter whether you're getting paid for your work or not, it feels to me anyone who is seizing the life force that's inside of them and trying to do something good with it, like more power to you. That's great.
That's
I told
exactly right.
Carmen, I think I did twice a month, I volunteer with a group of unemployed, underemployed, or people in transition. You talk about eye opening because there's a variety of people in this group, from people who haven't worked for 5 years, 6 years, still looking, to somebody 80 who still looking. So you see it all, and it almost overwhelmed me at first because I wasn't living in that world. I was living in a world of people gainfully employed or the decision not to, and trying to figure out how best to help them is been wow. And I just read, which I was so grateful for, that I think it was North Texas in particular, University of North Texas has started a program to help college graduates with job, how to get a job. Because I've
Right.
worked with those kids. They're coming out of college and they're clueless.
Yes.
And it's the worst group to get, in terms of finding employment right now. They're being replaced
Right.
by AI and
I know it's horrible. I
so
know
tough.
your granddaughter's off to Penn State still
Yes,
to
very
become a
excited about that. Nuclear engineer. That's her deal.
nuclear engineer,
Wow.
Yes,
which I think is
yes.
so cool. And I encouraged Sharon asked me or mentioned it to me, and I said, "Oh, this is awesome. She definitely should do it.
You
I'm
didn't
excited for her.
you didn't
It's a
say
really good choice."
you never said she would educate herself out of a husband.
No, no, it's that's funny you say that, but I'm very happy. And someone said, "Are you going to join a sorority?" And she goes, "Well, I've already reached out to the Women in Engineering Association.
Yes,
That's what
of
I want to
course.
join. That's what I want to
Yeah,
join."
of course.
Nothing wrong with a sorority. Maybe she'll decide that, but I love that that's a strong priority of hers.
I know a
She's worked hard.
professor at Penn State who is part of like their geography department or something like that. But if for some reason, what's her name again? Your granddaughter?
Catherine.
If some reason she needs an academic contact, and
Oh, yes.
I have the camellia. I have someone who I know would meet
That would
with
be
her.
great. Who
Yeah,
doesn't want a warm touch when you're
a
going
warm
somewhere?
touch, exactly. Yeah. So as you can see, Julia, Sharon is legendary among us for her energy and altogether unique vibe.
Yeah.
Um, and you've got how many children and grandchildren do you
I've
have?
got two children. So my daughter's 39 and she's got an 18-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 18-month-old, which I told you. My son is 35 and he's got a 3-year-old and an
Wow,
18-month-old. And they live within minutes of me.
it's so wonderful.
So I'm very
And
lucky.
I'm just curious, did you read to them when
Oh, yes.
and do you read to the
Yes,
grandkids or you read to
I
the
do.
kids?
I
Oh, well, you
do.
read to your kids, but do you read to the grandkids?
I do it. You know what they love right now? Back in the day, it was Mr. Rogers. Well, now it's
Uh-huh.
Daniel Tiger. Have you guys heard of Daniel
Oh
Tiger?
yeah, I have heard of Daniel Tiger.
Oh, there's all these books of Daniel goes to the doctor, Daniel goes to the dentist, Daniel's parents go out for the night. I mean, it's all these.
Daniel,
It's pardon.
didn't Mr. Rogers have a Daniel Tiger?
He may have. Maybe that's how it came. You're probably right. I don't remember
Yeah,
that, but it's the same cadence and kind of
Yeah, yeah,
music
yeah.
behind it. It's a
yeah,
beautiful day in the neighborhood, and it's Daniel Tiger.
yeah.
Uh, So, yes, and they all love to gather around and read. And I did that. And it's funny because my daughter loved reading very quickly. I mean, she almost couldn't be without a book. My son, on the other hand, when he was growing up, he was supposed to read 15 minutes a night at some point. And when it got to 15, if he was between a word, he stopped. I'm done. 15, I'm done. So one time he and I were on the plane. We'd gone to look at a college and we were landing. He goes, I want to go by a bookstore, back when they had bookstores. I said, really? Why? And he goes, I want to get a book. And it's like a switch turned. He was like a junior in high school. And then he became a voracious reader to the point that I've still got books and books and books of his here and at his house. And one of the things he taught me about reading, which I value, is he goes, Mom, you don't have to read the whole book.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, look at the table of contents. Go where you want. And that gave me permission to get through more books.
Yeah, that's actually great advice. And when a book lets you down, you're
Go
not
on.
obligated to finish it. Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm a big Audible listener, and maybe my kids will become too. Love. If you haven't read Culpability, that's
I was just going to ask you, what's on your list to read?
I just finished Culpability.
And
it's so topical. And this isn't to my kids. I could get back to that. But quickly, with Culpability, it starts with a family in a self-driving car. The son is texting and he's the driver and he kills somebody. That's the beginning. And the twists and turns up to the very end. And you're relating to it all, like how this one decision just spiraled into a lot. So it's real good.
Right.
But even like with my grandkids, I like some of the same books that I did with my kids when they were young. Like what's the moon book?
Good Night Moon.
Good Night Moon. Who doesn't love? And the book about the tree that gets old and dies. And yes, I know you know the one I'm talking about. I should have thought about these names, but yeah, Good Night Moon was a favorite.
Caps, the guy with the caps.
Yes, Dr. Seuss. Is that who you're talking about?
I think it might be Michelle Silverstein. He has caps for sale, and then the monkey comes and puts on all the caps.
Oh, I love the monkey books. Those books are still around. I mean, reading, you know what? It just opens up a whole world for you.
That's right.
Yeah.
And your brother, Larry.
Yes.
His career was as an educator, correct?
And he still is. He's a principal in Ohio. And he's
Ohio.
Yeah. When he got married, he moved to Ohio. And he's a very always educated. I mean, my brother sends out emails every day about something he's read about and pontificated about. He's great. And then I have a sister in Houston, and we're close. So I'm lucky to have my siblings and still be close with them.
Great. It's awesome.
Wish I had my parents, but.
Well, at some point, it's just, it's God's plan, as they say.
We should
absolutely.
All three of us should talk sometime in the future, maybe next year or whenever, about this group of people who want to get rid of death. They want to have people live forever. This
amazing. Because I mean, my son's with a biotech company. One of the things he does.
Yeah.
I know that's not about death. That's about disease. But he's very interested in all of that. And as I am, working out, taking supplements, eating right. What can you do? Whether it extends at least to improve your life, the quality of your life. But death is a disease, right? So why can't we?
See, this is why we got to talk about it.
Okay, well, that would require an entirely new Panda, and I don't know that we have time for that.
Where did the name Panda, and I see it in the back, where did that name come from?
Oh, I said to Julia, well, first Julia said to me we should write a book together. And at the time, I didn't have the energy or real interest to do that, although now I'm kind of falling into something that might happen. So my rejoinder was, why don't we do like a podcast together? And we can be just the two of us, but we'll talk about serious topics, and because most of the podcasts or YouTube channels run by women are about beauty or cooking or exercise, and not against any of those, but I just wanted to have like more stuff. A broader range of content. And Julia said, two women talking about serious things, that's as rare as pandas playing cello. And I went, there it is. That's the name.
I love that.
Came into my head. Yes.